Hello guys, welcome. In this video we're going to be writing our first SQL query. Before we get started with that, let's look at some definitions and terms that you should be familiar with. In every programming language we have something known as keywords. And keywords are reserved words that are used to indicate what operation we would like our code to perform. So they are reserved words specific to the programming language that helps you to indicate what operation you like to perform. So picture this. Keywords are sensitive to a particular programming language in the sense that when you mention it, the programming language will know that, oh, you want to do something in particular, and that's why you're mentioning this word. For example, think of a dog. A keyword to a dog would be its name. If you call a dog by its name, the dog will be sensitive to that name and know that you're calling it. Or other keywords to a dog would be sit or run or fetch. The dogs will be sensitive to those words. Now you could say other things and the dog will just ignore you, filter those stuff. But once you mention these words, it will, like, the dog will respond. It's just like in your life, a keyword to you might be your name. Obviously it should be your name. Someone should call your name, you'll be sensitive to that. Or maybe someone should call your mother's name like in the movie Superman versus Batman where the Martha thing, like, why did you hear that name, Martha? Where is that to you? Yeah, she's my mother. So that's a keyword example. So let's go back to Postgres. Now in SQL generally there are some keywords that are there in SQL, and the most popular or the most common ones are select and from. So select and from are two common keywords in SQL, and they have a meaning. So when you use select, you're trying to indicate the columns that you want to be selected. And when you use from, you're trying to tell SQL the table where it should get those columns from. Now, from here on out, I want you to picture this. Think of think of your database as someone you're communicating with, and your database speaks a language known as SQL, and you want your database to help you do something, so you are going to speak its language, and select and from are some terms in that language SQL. To better understand this, we're going to look at an example. Alright, so in the first example, we want to select a column in a table. You have your database, it has the table, and in that table you want to get a particular column there. So for you to do that, you're going to use this syntax. You're going to say select, then the name of the column, whichever it is, from, then the table. Remember, in a database, you can have multiple tables in that database. So you have to be specific and tell your database, oh, please, I would like you to select the names column from my students table. So that's like think of it, just picture it like you're talking to your database. That's one thing that will help you learn this faster. And if you want to select multiple columns from a table, you don't want to select one column, you want to select multiple columns. Now, this is the syntax that will help you do that. So you can see select the name of the column, the first column you want to select, and then comma, and the next column. Then as many columns as you want, you can just keep typing them out like that, comma, and finally from my table. You have to be specific on the table name. We're going to look at an example soon. Before we do that, let's see this last point. This last point is if you want to select all the columns in your table. You know, with Excel, when you open an Excel file, by default you can see everything. You just see all the columns there, the rows. So now in SQL, you actually have to specify if you want to see everything, if you want to see some part of it. And most times when you are opening a SQL database for the first time, especially when you're not familiar with the database, this is what you will want to do, because you may not know the columns that are there and you want to see all the columns. So you just use select asterisk from my table. Now SQL will understand that you want to see all the columns because you're using this asterisk. So the asterisk is a wildcard, and a wildcard is a stand-in for a value, so it could represent any value. Let's switch to pgadmin and try this out. Okay, so I'm here in pgadmin and I have my local server running Postgres 16. I'm going to maximize it by clicking on this arrow, and I have 3 databases already, but for this video I'm just going to use the film database. If you don't have the film database, there's a video I created on how to set up this film database. I'm going to put the link to that video in the description of this video, so check the description of this video to learn how to set up your film database if you don't have it, or perhaps you want to follow along with this example. You can also try out these commands with any database you have available, but you may have to change some things depending on the column names and the tables in that database. But for this one, so we have our film. I can maximize this and then maximize schemas. That's if your schema was already like this, you can now maximize it, and you can check tables. Now I'm familiar with the tables here. I know I have 4 tables. I have the films, people, reviews, roles tables. So let's say I want to see the columns in the films table, and now I need to code, and to do that I can right click anywhere here and open a query tool. Now this query tool is the interface where I get to write my SQL code to query this database. To make sure you're using you're on the right database, you can check here, you see film, so I know that this query tool is opened on my film database, which means the query I'm writing will be for this particular database. Now let's write our first command, and let's see, I don't know the column names. Okay, maybe I know, but let's just pretend I don't know the column names in this database or in any of the tables. So I want to see them. What am I going to do? I'm going to communicate to my database, and I'm like, hey database, I want to see all the columns in my films table. So that's like saying please select all the columns. Then going to the next line to make it readable from, then what's the table I want to check? The films table. So from films, you can use this semicolon just to end the statement to show that, oh, you've ended it, but it's not necessary. I'm just going to use it, so I developed the habit of using it. So now let's run the code. To run it, we're going to click on this icon here, execute script, and we can see it's running. And now I have my data output showing here on this part of the screen. I can see all the columns in this database. Sorry, I can see all the columns in this table, films table. I can see there's a column ID, there's a title, release year, country, duration of the movie, language, certification, gross budget. So that's really cool. And now if I do not want to see all the columns, I just want to see some columns, I can now specify the names of those columns here. So I can do something like this: select title separated by comma. I want to see the country and maybe the duration. I just want to see those 3. So I can run this script and I get the output showing me only those 3 columns. So these are some of the basic syntax in SQL, where you can query your database to retrieve data from it.